I made a Twitter post about 2 days ago and I was talking about some key points about Barcelona's preseason. If you guys have not watched any of the preseason games because you guys were either working or at school or you guys were just busy dealing with life, for this video I'm going to be talking about exactly what we have learned through this preseason, and hopefully you guys can be up to date about all of these games that Barcelona have played and what we could expect in the upcoming season. And so you guys already know this, I'm here to serve you guys, the Barcelona fans, this family that we have here. This is the reason why I do make these videos, and I hope you guys do enjoy this one. So in this Twitter post, or I should say X post, now that is called X, not Twitter, I was talking about Oriol Romeu, Ansu Fati. I was talking about how whether we're going to be using the 3-4-3 box formation. I was talking about us needing a pure right back. I was talking about multiple things, but I'm only going to be narrowing it down to 3 different points, which is going to be about Oriol Romeu, Ansu Fati, and then talk about the youngsters. And so let's talk about Oriol Romeu first. He is one of the biggest surprises. I did say on the first key point that Oriol Romeu fits well when paired with Frenkie de Jong. He's definitely going to be a contender for a starting role, and I really do believe that Oriol Romeu could be a starter for Barcelona, and that is because of a multitude of things. Let me tell you guys one thing. Oriol Romeu was the 3rd most used player by Xavi Hernandez. He played a total of 202 minutes, and that shows us that Oriol is fundamental to what Xavi wants to do. He really liked the way that he did play and what he provided to the team. He showed that he is the only midfielder that has great ability to defend different situations and also give balance to the team. And what do I mean by this? He's basically that one player that does all of the dirty work in order for the other midfielders to express themselves offensively in the opposition's half. And that is why we do see players like Pedri, Gundogan, and especially with Frenkie de Jong express themselves in the final third and be much more daring, because they know they have that player, which is Oriol, who is able to back them up in case any mistakes do go on. And that is worst case scenario. And so we're very happy to see that Oriol is there to be that extra wall and extra coverage to these other midfield. It's some very interesting stuff. And we can even see by this picture here where exactly Frenkie de Jong likes to place himself when they're controlling the game. Frenkie is at a much higher position compared to Oriol. Oriol is positioned between the center backs, and Frenkie is placed higher. Usually, like what we have seen in the past 24 months, Frenkie would be in Oriol's position while we have either Pedri or Gavi in Frenkie's position based off this picture here. But because Oriol permits and allows Frenkie to go up higher, that gives Frenkie a much bigger impact into the game. And here's also going to be a short video on what exactly we do when we have the ball on our half and we are being pressured by the opposition. You can see that every time Ter Stegen receives the ball, Frenkie de Jong is the one that is ordered to be the first receiver in those plays. Like literally, this is what Xavi wants. Every time Ter Stegen has the ball, Frenkie has to be the one right next to Ter Stegen to be that open man. It is a must. You never see Frenkie de Jong up high while Ter Stegen has the ball. I just feel like Xavi does trust in Frenkie to be the first receiver because he is the one with the most ball retention abilities. Now, what does this have to do with Oriol? Well, Oriol is the reason why in this sequence here, Frenkie is a open man, and we're going to see this so many times through the season. So you can see here that Oriol Romeu is sticking with Frenkie de Jong, like we always talk about. It is a double pivot, and you can see that Bellingham is marking Oriol, Vinicius is marking Koundé, and then we have Rodrigo marking Christensen, leaving Frenkie as the open man. If Oriol was not there and he did not stick with Frenkie de Jong, Bellingham could have run up higher and marked Frenkie de Jong and minimize the opportunities of an open player receiving the ball from Ter Stegen and make it much harder for Ter Stegen. And so this double pivot of Frenkie and Oriol is really working, especially with us having the ball in deep areas. It just makes us much more safer when we are being pressed. Now keep in mind that in this sequence alone, Ter Stegen did not pass it to Frenkie de Jong. For some reason he passed it to, I believe, Christensen, but mostly again this is what we are going to be seeing. So I would say that Oriol is not that anticipating player like Sergio Busquets, right? Sergio Busquets was a master at anticipating for the ball and receiving the ball easily. Oriol is not like that. Oriol is someone that likes to defend on 1v1 duels when there is an open field. Like in this example here, you can see that he really enjoys running up those spaces and trying to take away the ball immediately and stop the transitions from the opposition as fast as possible. And that is a huge plus for Xavi's Barcelona, because if we have a player that can stop the transition when, you know, the opposition is forming the attack, when we do win the ball immediately, they're going to be disorganized. They're going to have to get back to their defensive shape, and that is where Barcelona finds those attacking opportunities. And again, it's fascinating. All of this fits so well. No wonder Xavi wanted Oriol. So now let's move on towards Ansu Fati, which was another key point I had on Twitter. It says here, and I stated that Ansu Fati is working to convince Xavi and wants to be a goal-scoring machine this season. Alejandro Balde is his best partner, and so I think that with Ansu Fati really showing up as a left winger for us, it gives Barcelona much more ease, right? That the left wing position is in better hands. Now we don't have to really worry about whether we should sign a left winger. We have Ansu Fati showing up and also with Abde. But the main focus is on Ansu because Ansu wears the number 10 jersey, meaning that at one point in the past 2 years, we were convinced that Ansu Fati was going to be the main man of our project. But that hasn't been the case in the past 2 years. But I think that in this preseason, it's showing us a glimpse of what we could see about Ansu with Barcelona. And I think that one of the biggest reasons why Xavi Hernandez will continue to use Ansu on the left wing is because of Alejandro Balde. Alejandro Balde works at his best when Ansu Fati is there, and Ansu Fati works at his best when Balde is there. And I think that Xavi is noticing that, and to Xavi, Alejandro Balde is a untouchable and wants to get the best from that left back. And if he knows and he is aware that the only way Alejandro Balde can get his best is when Ansu Fati is there, then that would basically navigate to one thing: Ansu Fati receiving more minutes. And that is very important for Ansu Fati. It says here, according to Sport, that Balde's connection with Ansu resulted in a winning goal against AC Milan, and the understanding between the two promises to be one of the keys to the project that Xavi is building. And that, my friends, is so true. For some reason, Ansu Fati looks much more vibrant. He looks faster with the takeoff when he has the ball, and he's constantly looking to see where he can score goals. And let's look at a couple of plays here. You can see that Ansu Fati receives the ball. He doesn't seem so, I would say, nervous. He doesn't make any mistakes. He doesn't lose the ball, and he waits, right? He waits for Rafinha to go into open space. He makes a fast move to the right, takes off one of the players against AC Milan, and then he looks for Rafinha and makes that long pass. And that is a good sign that he has great composure right now. He has a lot of confidence and does not lose the ball in deep areas, and especially when he is being pressed. Here's going to be another example on what Ansu Fati is doing on the pitch, right? Let's notice how involved he likes to get. We can see that Barcelona are on a 4 versus 4 situation. They need an open player in the middle to pass it to, and Ansu Fati is the first one to receive the ball. And you can see that one of the defenders of AC Milan, who is named Tomori, presses Ansu Fati, but again, Ansu Fati is composed. He does not get nervous. He does not lose the ball. He looks way stronger, and then passes it back to one of the Barcelona players, and then away they go. So I'm very happy to see that Ansu Fati is running much more, being much more active. He just overall looks much more composed, which was the old Ansu Fati that we saw. And I hope that he continues to progress his game as we go. I strongly think that he is going to be one of the first choices on the left wing. We'll see what Abdel does in the next few weeks, because he might have something else to say. So now let's move on towards the last key point, which is the most important one. Let's talk about the youngsters. I did state that Lamine Yamal, Fermin Lopez, and Mikhail Faye will be the next group of youngsters that Xavi will try and emerge into the first team dynamics. I think that it is quite clear that in this preseason, he did trust on 3 total youngsters. We saw other youngsters, but these 3 showed the most promises on the field. And let me explain why. Let's start with Lamine Yamal. Lamine showed a lot of creativity every time he went central. I think that Lamine Yamal is the best player right now that can show a lot of creativity when he's moving central. I think that he's even better than Rafinha, better than Ansu, and better than Ferran Torres. It's just in the nature of Lamine Yamal. I think that it would change once Bernardo Silva does come in, because I think that when he goes centrally, it is game over for anybody. Every time he's going central, he's always looking for a shot. He looks very precise in all of his passes, in his shooting, and he's very good at picking those passes into the box in order for one of the forwards to score goals. I think that this is also a player that never seems nervous, and that's very important because he's very young. And we live in a world where many young players between the ages of 18 to 22 do get nervous in situations like this when the club is asking you to deliver. We've seen many cases like that, and especially in Barcelona, but with Lamine Yamal, he just looks unbothered. And what amazes everybody the most is that Lamine Yamal was definitely showing world-class performances in second division, right? He looked like he was outgrowing every player there, and he just looked too good for any team that he did face. But the question that we had at that moment was, could he bring that type of performance and intensity and creativity into first team football? Because first team football is like a huge step forward. They call them the biggest gem of La Masia, and that is why we question that. But man, let me tell you, did he bring that against AC Milan? And that is why I believe that Xavi Hernandez will be using him much more than we expected. Now, you and me know that when it comes to the right wing position, we're going to be having a multitude of options, with Bernardo Silva slowly creeping in. We're going to have Rafinha. We're going to be having Ferran Torres. That's 3 total players. And I believe that that is going to be one of the reasons on why Lamine Yamal is going to be getting a decent amount of minutes. It could have been more if we did not have so many choices, but that is going to be the situation. And I hope that Lamine doesn't get too impatient and he's not questioning, why am I not getting so many minutes? Should I move somewhere else? Because it seems like these 3 players are going to be here for a good while. And, you know, Lamine Yamal is going to be 17 years old next summer. And usually around that age, they're going to be demanding to play more. And so I hope that Xavi Hernandez has that conversation with Lamine, and he says, hey, look, I definitely have a plan for you, and I definitely am going to be needing you in a couple of years. These players that we do have right now is very short term, but, you know, with you, we'll be able to build a whole other project for the next 10 years. The only way I could see Lamine's situation at Barcelona really change, like take that next step forward, is by him like really impressing and exceeding expectations. But that's going to be very hard to do. Again, I'm not expecting Lamine Yamal to just come in and score like 20 goals in one season. I think that he'll get around 750 to 800 minutes and do decent. He'll be okay. He'll be good enough. And even with him being decent at just 16, 17 years old, that'll be just enough for us to know that he'll be a very special player. Now, moving on towards Fermin Lopez, right? He scored a goal against Real Madrid, had an assist against Real Madrid. He was not able to do a lot against AC Milan, mainly because Loftus-Cheek was like man marking him so well. But when we talk about this midfielder, he is the exact profile that Xavi has been asking for in terms of what type of interiors he does need. He knows how to score and he knows how to bring assists. We always talk about how our midfielders need to be able to protect the ball, defend the ball, organizing play, and controlling the tempo. And Pedri, Frankie, Gundogan, Gavi, they're all world class at doing that. They're so good at doing that. That is the reason why Barcelona is one of the best teams in the world. But not many of those players can actually put the goals and assists on paper. Like who actually brings 10 goals in one season or 10 assists in one season? There's very little of them. Fermin Lopez looks like he's very capable to do that. And I know that Xavi wants his midfielders to do this because he even challenged Pedri. Hey, can you score 10 goals and provide 10 assists in one season? Can you provide 5 goals and provide 5 assists in one season? Pedri has been challenged. Now, unfortunately, he has not been able to meet those challenges and meet those expectations. He said that to the media and he said that he's going to try again in this upcoming season. But Fermin Lopez can also do that. And so I am expecting to see Fermin Lopez to also get around maybe 600 to 800 minutes this season. And hopefully he does impress because he did have a very impressive preseason. We'll see if he plays against Tottenham in about 2 or 3 days. Now, lastly, I want to talk about Mikayil Faye. He is a center back for FC Barcelona, but not just any other center back. And let me explain to you guys exactly why I believe that Faye will be very important in the future. Center backs like him are very difficult to find in the world of football. Right now, in the world that we live in today, we need center backs, right, that are tall, a good ball passer, a great dribbler, and extremely strong. It's very hard to find center backs like that. A lot of the center backs have 3 of those 4 qualities. Like they might be strong, a good dribbler, and also a good passer, but they're not tall. Or they could be tall, a good dribbler, a good passer, but they're not strong. Or they could be strong, tall, a good dribbler, but they're not good at passing the ball from the back. But with someone like Faye, he brings those 4 qualities. And the player that I would also say that is very close, that meets those type of qualities, is Guardiola. There's only one player that I think that can do all those 4 things right now in top European football, and that's Guardiola. And again, Faye represents what Guardiola is, but Faye is younger, and I think that Faye will get his time. And if we, right, because we wanted Guardiola before, now he's going to go to Manchester City, and I understand why. But if we want to get something close to Guardiola, Mikayil Faye is our biggest shot. Like, look at this clip by Mikayil Faye. He's good in the air, he headers the ball, and then it meets Casado. We look at this other clip, he makes a long pass, very similar to how Guardiola likes to make his long passes, and the ball ends up going exactly to Ansu Fati's feet. This is exactly what Guardiola does, and this is one of the reasons on why Pep Guardiola even wanted Guardiola, is because of these long passes, so he can find Erling Haaland up top. We can do the exact same thing with Faye if we continue to build him, and this is something very special to have, because like when do you ever see tall, strong players being able to dribble the ball and also pass the ball very well? So we have to protect this center back and build him. I think that out of all players, between Lamine Yamal, Mikayil Faye, and Fermin Lopez, I think that Faye will impress the most and will get the most minutes based off the qualities that he does have. I really do see him as a very dedicated player. And so that is going to be my key points for this preseason. Obviously, we do have one more match, which will be against Tottenham, and it's going to be a very exciting one. I hope that we get to see the players that we want to see in that match, like Faye, Lamine Yamal, maybe a little bit of Fermin Lopez, maybe see Ansu Fati and Abde score some goals. We want to see all of those things in that match. And so I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.